And by the way, as always, I do sit here reading the chat before I go live, and I have to say I agree with all the comments that are saying defender, defender, defender. I'm with you. If we had to bring in one player, it would be a defender for me. But let's talk about attackers because they're what's in the media today. We'll go through and give you the very latest on the situation with Semenyo and why Liverpool are apparently looking at Bradley Barcola. So Matt Thielen, I'm not sure if Matt still works with that FC transfer room or not. I don't know, but I've known Matt through social media and a few interactions for years, and he's his finger on the pulse of all things Liverpool. So he wrote a week ago, Liverpool are continuing to monitor the situation surrounding Bradley Barcola. Richard Hughes has been in communication with his reps since the summer, one to keep an eye on. And now Matt posted today to say, reported Liverpool's interest in Barcola nearly a week ago. Liverpool are very interested in him as they're fearful Semenyo was going elsewhere, i.e. City, and Barcola is said to be ready for a new project away from the Paris capital over in France. Barcola's name has been floated around even in the summer as somebody Liverpool were looking at. It just feels a bit far-fetched for me. Said Semenyo is bang average and has fell off a cliff since his hot start. Barcola, just what we need. Another forward who's talented and can't finish. So I've never been a fan of Bradley Barcola. So I definitely agree with you on that one. I find him very frustrating. He's the type of forward that, yes, he'll score goals, but it's more what he doesn't score that I would be concentrating on. And on Antoine Semenyo, look, my answer to that needs a bit more context. So I'm happy to bring him in if he's a Chiesa replacement. You're probably going, hang on a minute, Craig. Well, what? I'm not trying to get rid of Fede. But again, if we brought in Semenyo and the manager moved on Chiesa, I'd understand that. But I'm not sure how I'd feel if he was a Salah replacement, if that makes sense. Because one of the reasons I would be so pro bringing Semenyo in is the versatility and his ability to play on either side. So it wouldn't be a necessary you're coming in to take Mo's place, but it would give us good cover on that side. For me, after yesterday, I'd like to think that Mo wants to stay. Really don't know how that one pans out, but that's why I'd be more pro Semenyo than I would be Barcola. And also, I do agree on your point about him maybe not hitting the heights he did early season. But how much of that, again, is to do with the team he's in and would he do better for us? Sometimes I'm glad I'm not making these decisions as a sporting director or anything because it's a tough call. It's a tough call. And add into that, our need is probably more increased in other areas as well. Love to the community as always. Decision to keep or sell Salah only next summer, in my opinion. Best for all parties. Well, here's a bit of the reason why I'm confused. So the same newspaper has put in 3 different variations of the whole situation with Salah. So firstly, the Mail on Sunday write, Mohamed Salah's future at Liverpool has not been resolved entirely, despite Arne Slot saying he has no issues with the forward. Also, from the Mail on Sunday, Liverpool have no intention of letting Mohamed Salah leave in January and remain committed to resolving the situation. Also, Mail on Sunday, Saudi clubs are willing to pay £100 million for Mohamed Salah if he shows a desire to leave. So as you can see, it's only going to add to our own confusion about it. I've seen things yesterday in the media from, you could see the tears in Salah's eye a full time, to it was a good end to the whole Salah debacle, and now we can go off and focus on the AFCON and come back to Liverpool and get going again. I have not got a clue where we're at with the Salah situation, if it's resolved or if it isn't. JT Cliff said, Craig, I still feel if Liverpool get a £100 million offer in January and Salah's willing to go to Saudi, they'll take it. I find it very hard to believe that Liverpool as a club would turn down 100 million for Salah with 18 months to go. But I was reading a lot today again about Mohamed Salah's family being so well settled in Liverpool. Of course, his kids growing up there. So that there is that side of it as well. That maybe they just don't want to uproot their family, which is completely understandable. When your kids are in school and they've made friends and grown up there. But I have to say, like £100 million, I'd take it. I might be on my own here, but I'd take it. Only if Salah wanted to go. Because if Mo's happy to stay and fight for his place, happy days. I have no issues with that whatsoever. But, I'd like to know what was really said there between him and Arne, because Arne can't have given him assurances that he's going to play every week. He can't have done that. Will Mo be happy with fighting for a place? What happens if Mo, while he's at the AFCON, Liverpool play well and Liverpool find a system or relationships out there on the pitch that works? There's so many unanswered questions yet. But yeah, to get back to what you said, I'd struggle to say no to 100 million quid for a player with 18 months to go. It feels like it would be just too good of a number. So let's talk about Michael Olise for a second. This comes from Team Talk, and they report that Bayern Munich winger Michael Olise, who has been on Liverpool's radar for some time, is prioritising a move to either Barcelona or Real Madrid rather than a return to the Premier League. I have to say, if it wasn't to come to Liverpool, I'd probably prefer that Olise went to La Liga, because I'd rather have him in that league than playing against us in the Premier League or strengthening an opponent in the Premier League. But I'm not going to lie, he's always been my number one dream long-term Salah replacement, especially at the fact that he'd be 25 then when Mo's contract at Liverpool is over. So let's wait and see. Musi said Barcola is a much bigger talent than Semenyo. So, you know what? For once, mate, and usually me and you disagree, I probably would agree with you on that, but I still don't want them. I just always found them so wasteful when I've watched them. Now, whether we could harness those finishing abilities of his or not, fair enough, but I don't know, just not one for me, mate. Not one for me personally. Donny said, Craig, why do you think the lack of investment into centre-back in the last 5 years? I can't give you a justifiable answer. And it really annoyed me this summer, because what we did is we went into this season with Joe Gomez, who, with all the best intention in the world, is always going to pick up a few injuries throughout the year. A young centre-back who, at the best and in the most optimistic, could have worked out and got us some game time. But then you've got Canade, whose contract's running down, and Virgil, who has no competition. So it feels like we've shafted ourselves, mate, is what it feels like. Why leave it so late in the window to try get Mark A? This is something I keep coming back over in my head. Because if you want a centre-back, you want to give the manager time to work with them as well. So I've never understood why we left it so late. And the only thing I can come up with is that we tried to save a few million quid. And look how that worked out. Now, look, there's nothing to say if we had to sign Mark A, we don't know where we'd be now or how it would have worked out. But I dare say some of the jittery moments from Canade may not have happened because Gay would have probably played then. Jeremy Jacquet was being scouted yesterday against Brest. Don't you do it. Don't you dare do it. Don't make us have that Brest chat again. That was one of the most fun streams, actually, in the last few years. All them Brest puns when they were in the Champions League. Yeah, we had some good times. We had some good times during those streams. Irfan said, I don't rate Barcola and he might not adapt to the Prem. Semenyo is a must. I think signing a centre-back won't be enough. We need a DM as cover. I'm right there with you. Look, I'm mixed, mate, because I don't want to... I'm trying to manage my own expectations. I'm going into the January window and I honestly don't really know what to expect. So in my own head, I'm thinking, don't be greedy, which is hard for me. It's hard for me not to be greedy. So I'm thinking, don't be greedy, centre-back. But you're right. If I was putting my, what do we actually need? Well then, yes, a centre-back, a DM, and probably another wide forward. But I don't know how realistic, if at all realistic, that would be. In a window, mid-season, in a World Cup year, I don't know. I don't know how easy it would be to do. Now, the Semenyo one, we know the situation there. And we'll move on to talk about that more in a moment. Right, we only need 30 more votes. And the reason, by the way, I'm so intrigued by the Chiesa situation is, I think deep down, Arne would rather get rid of Chiesa and bring in a Semenyo. So I could see a world where that maybe happens. I know initially all of us are thinking Salah, and look, there could be something to that as well. But I just get the feeling he wants another option because he doesn't trust Chiesa. Now, of course, I think that's wrong because Chiesa, has only looked like he really cares and he really puts in a shift every time for the few minutes he gets out there. We can't just keep burying our heads in the sand and thinking, is this going to be the time where he plays Chiesa? So I find it difficult to believe that when Salah's out of form and young Rio has no competition and hasn't been blooded in yet, and Gakpo's injured, I don't think it's accidental that he goes to a system with no wingers. Knowing then that Mo's going to the AFCON, I almost think that that's more of an indication of the fact that he doesn't want to use Chiesa than anything else. Because you should think, right, Mo's not playing, Chiesa on the right side, happy days, and then maybe Wirtz to the left or young Rio to the left. But instead, he's gone to a system that doesn't use natural wingers in it. And that's why I think he's potentially looking to move on Chiesa. 59% of the 2,000 people that voted, in fact, it just went up to 60%, said that they would like Antoine Semenyo in January.